Welcome to Big and Geekus. This is Joe. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
You're Joe, and I am Patrick.
This is episode 78 of our podcast, and the date is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. And we have, as he's already announced, Patrick. Patrick Demo, friend from here in Michigan of Pointy Hat Games. He will be joining me in lieu of Randy, who has personal issues to take care of. So, welcome, Patrick. How are you today?
Great.
All
Happy
right.
to be here.
Good deal. I am remiss in my haste to get out of the shower and on the stream clothed. I did not reach for a Cabin Con shirt, so you will have to forgive me.
I'll have to fill in.
It is the great one of the greatest artists ever. Well, maybe not really, but he's
Legion Smithson here.
He's certainly well loved by everybody. Bob Ross. Yes, welcome Mortensen and Legion of Myth. You are our lone two viewers for the moment. So we did not get any call-ins or email for this evening to talk about.
Hello, Timmy.
Oh, Tim. So am I, Mortensen? Who is that? What is that for? That's funny. Yes, most people prefer Joe clothed. You missed the intro. It was all explained. It will be in the show notes.
I will try to fill Randy's shoes, but that's a tall order.
Yes. Hi, Larry. Let's see. We have.
Yes, I'm Bizarro Randy from the plane of negative energy.
Right. Yes, there always will be the Planescape crack. So yes, and since we don't have any call-ins or emails, I was just kind of cruising around the internet for something maybe as lead-in stuff we can just chit-chat about. Are you familiar with Brian Sanderson at all?
Is he the guy that finished off
Wheel of Time?
Wheel of Time? Yeah.
Yeah, he has a whole bunch of his own books as well. Dracopole, welcome. I don't remember seeing you in here before, but you are certainly welcome. Borat. Okay, Borat. Not. Anyway, Brian Sanderson apparently was not happy about how this new game, which I have not played because my computer is owed, just like me, Elden Ring. Are you familiar with Elden Ring at all?
Jeff's been playing it ever since it came out.
Right, so it's essentially a version of Souls. That's about
right. Yeah, it's pretty much a Souls game.
Right. So difficult. It's difficult, and get good is the byword for the game.
Which is going to be banned by Microsoft, from what I hear.
Really? I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, they want to ban the phrase "get good."
Where?
From
where are they going to
stuff? Like you can get canceled off of Twitch for saying the wrong thing. They want to ban the words "get good."
Oh, I should start streaming there in conjunction with this. I've been thinking about it.
Well, and just where would be the first thing I'd say is "get good, scrub."
Get good, scrub. Yeah. So he didn't like that George R.R. Martin was tapped for the lore parts of that game instead of him.
Oh my God! All right, I've got to throw some serious shade at George R.R. Martin. Okay, you're working on a video game. Finish your damn book.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah, because HBO finished it for him.
Correct.
It's like your great bearded glacier. You're not going to finish your your long running Game of Thrones series, you're just gonna let HBO finish it, or you're gonna totally Robert Jordan it and like die and have a ghostwriter do it?
Probably won't. He'll probably write some more. He'll probably write some more misery porn for us all to. Well, I didn't read any of his novels. I was thinking about it when I first started watching the series, and then soon I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to read this stuff."
I'm not really a book lore junkie as far as Game of Thrones goes, but I enjoyed like the first season, but it just became more and more misery porn, and there's only so much I can take before I really don't want to see it.
Right. So he got upset. I can actually pull up the article. Salty is the word the article uses. I just thought it was funny. I mean, I think it's kind of weird that he would care one way or the other. Whether he got tapped. I mean, he could have petitioned them and said, "Hey, I am Brian Sanderson. You should know about me, and I do lots of good stuff as far as lore." So
It does seem like a little bit of sour grapes as far as why didn't you guys pick me? And there's a lot of designers out there and writers and authors who are like, why didn't you pick me to do this? It's like, well, we didn't think to. Sorry.
And has many people who like his books, as many people as there are likely many people who like his books, George R.R. Martin is more familiar name. So if Elden Ring is looking for the makers of Elden Ring, if they're looking for some extra advertising oomph, George R.R. Martin is going to bring it in, I think, more than Sanderson. Even if people like Sanderson's books more, George R.R. Martin is more in the public eye, in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
They've heard that, Game of Thrones. Everybody knows that.
Oh, Dracopole, there are two A Song of Ice and Fire RPGs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So is there a 5th edition or D20 version and then some other?
Yes. Fantasy Flight Games did the very first one, but the one everybody really knows really well is the one done by Green Ronin.
Oh, Green Ronin, of course. Yeah.
It basically uses that
Stormlight, yes.
Yeah.
Stormlight Archive, yeah. I was trying to remember. I actually have the book one of that I have not read yet. It's on my list of things to read. But funnily enough, as a companion article to this, or story really, Brian Sanderson currently has the highest grossing Kickstarter ever. So I don't think he has a whole lot to complain about.
That's a nice little laurel crown for you.
Right. People use it as a way to ensure that they have customers, I guess. It's a pre-order kind of thing. But, as popular as he is, you'd think he wouldn't need it, but he sure used it. And the last I looked, he had over 20 million in pre-orders or whatever.
And I always thought Kickstarter was for people more like me who don't have initial capital to print games. Whereas, now all these big name companies are coming in and they're showing you an actual finished product, and all of a sudden the expectations of everybody is like if you don't have a finished product, I'm not gonna back your game. Well, okay, thanks.
Right. Well, the expectation from some people is that once you're on Kickstarter, you're just like finishing up final details. But a lot of people, they get their kind of marketing from Kickstarter so that they know how many even to make. So,
Yeah.
you know, some people do, some people don't.
Heck, some people have really, really high standards. Like, I've had some people look at my artwork and say, "Oh, yeah, your game's not for me." Or I've had one person actually tell me, "You have no business calling yourself a game designer."
Well, people have all kinds of ugly things to say to other people. So, I mean,
I don't even know you.
right. Well, I've said what Wizards of the Coast would probably think is ugly,
Yeah.
and they don't know me. And they probably haven't even seen anything I've said, most likely. So, yes, here it is. 4 secret novels. Surprise, 4 secret novels. We don't even know what they are.
Holy crap.
So, yeah, 26 million and change. 22 days left to go, so it's going to get higher than that. It's basically, you get once it starts going out, you get 1 book a month. And let me see if I can find it. If you want the hardcover books, they're $40 a piece. Let's see if you get the soft cover. Do they have soft cover? They've got audio and ebook. The ebooks are $40, and the audiobooks are $60. I guess he has to pay the person to do the narration. I think he probably does. And then of course it goes up just like everybody else. So, and I'm sure he has stretch goals that I don't really care about, but I just thought it was interesting.
That's a lot of cheddar.
Yeah. So I wonder if he could pull that kind of cash from a publisher, because a lot of times, you know, someone like him, he's a well-established author, has already done lots of things. They already, I mean, they pay you up front a chunk of what they think your book's going to bring in, and then you have some contract for the remainder of that, for the once the book is on sale, how much you get, what piece of each book you get. So there is a word for that, what the publishers give you up front, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
Yeah,
I wonder if
looking at those numbers for him, I'm feeling a little sodium laced.
Yeah. I don't know if he gets $26 million from the publisher when he says, "Hey, I'm going to write some books. Can you give me advance?" An advance, that's what they call it. So, can you give me an advance? Will they give him $26 million? I think that's really high. And this is 4 books. What does it say it's due out? Of course, October next year. So he gets to hold on to $26 million. And I mean, he's writing, so there's
I wouldn't want to be in that tax season.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but even if he pays a 1/3 of that, I mean, that's still over $10 million you get to keep. I mean, for writing, which, I mean, granted, if he's going to write 4 books, and he's going to need all of his time to do that. And so, I mean, I would love if someone would like to give me $26 million to not otherwise work and just write. I would do that. That would be awesome. So I just thought it was an interesting twofer on Brandon Sanderson. In the one hand, he was complaining about not being the one for Elden Ring, and then I think he's a gamer, and I don't think that George R.R. Martin is. So he's played lots of video games. Brian Sanderson has. So I suppose he believes he should, being in the community of gamers, should probably get tapped before someone who is not. But yes, Tim, I would do it for 10 million. I will take a pay cut.
I wouldn't do it for half that.
Yeah, 5.
$1 million would take care of every single financial problem I have.
Plus all of mine.
Plus all of yours.
And a couple other of your friends, at least.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I just thought that was interesting. All right, so if there is nothing else we have on the docket, which there is nothing, our main topic today are 5 games, 5 from myself and 5 from, well, actually, I point that way because that's where he's at. No, that's still wrong. That's still wrong. There. Patrick has 5 games, and as long as it doesn't take us over 5 hours to do, we're gonna talk about 5 games each that we think you would like to play, but definitely that we want to play, and we'll talk about the whys. So, being the guest, I will allow Patrick to go first. What is your first game that you would like to talk about? These are all games. Oh, also, these are all games that are not D&D.
Yes. There are many, many games out there that are very much worthy of your playtime that are not Dungeons and Dragons. Not that Dungeons and Dragons isn't a fine game. It was basically everybody's first game. But there's plenty outside of Dungeons and Dragons, and not everything needs to be Dungeons and Dragons. The first one I got off my shelf is Earthdawn.
Drink.
I'm sure Legion of Myth would appreciate that. Yeah, 5 games for Earthdawn First Edition, Earthdawn Second Edition, Third Edition, Forbidden Lands. Okay. But Earthdawn.
I sense a little bias in there. Maybe a little.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I was introduced to the game during its 2nd edition. And it had a very, very unique world. And it's still high fantasy, but there are lots of different concepts about it that I really, really like. And one of the unique concepts about it is that basically everything about Earthdawn is magical. Magic permeates everything.
That's interesting.
And even the disciplines, which are the classes of the game, every single discipline has magic to it. So even your warriors and your sword masters and your thieves have talents that are innately magical. And like, for instance, the archers, eventually archers can gain talents to where, like one called Wind Bow, where he can basically create a bow out of thin air.
I've heard of this.
And fire that. Or
at the upper end of their career. At the upper end of their career,
yep.
They have to get quite a lot of experience.
One of the first talents they have is Mystic Aim. It actually puts a magical red targeting dot on your opponent.
That's funny.
That you have the classic spellcasters in the more traditional sense. There are 4 of them. You have Elementalists, which do the 5 elements magic: earth, air, fire. What? Jesus Christ! I'm not Randy, guys.
Okay, so Baron, again, because this is quickly becoming an old joke. This was all explained at the very beginning. If you weren't here to hear it, that's your fault.
But,
yes, Patrick is filling in.
Yes, Randy's away. He is on the road, returning from
Indiana.
Indiana, yeah. But anyway, You have the Elementalists, which do the. I'll do what I want. I'm one of the co-hosts on the show, not you. But the 5 elements magic: earth, air, fire, water, and wood.
That's like Oriental Adventures.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
The wood, yeah. Oh, they
Uh,
also have metal, I think, too.
Yeah, gold,
Adventures.
I think. But you have illusionists, which is you can guess that they're magic.
Are they
trickery?
Are they actual? So they're tricksters, and they actually have illusions, unlike castles and crusades.
Yes, they actually have illusions.
Yeah, so they call an illusionist something that's not an illusionist.
Yeah,
Just to let everybody know.
their illusions can actually be disbelieved, but if you actually succumb to their illusions, their magic packs a pretty good punch.
Can you do weird things like walk on illusionary bridges and weird stuff like that? Oh, good. I'm great with illusions having some punch behind them, but when they do wonky things like that, not so much.
Like one of their first spells is Ephemeral Bolt, and it does a crap ton of damage, but you always have that chance that the target's not going to believe the Ephemeral Bolt, which they also have another spell called True Ephemeral Bolt, which can't be disbelieved, but it does way less damage.
Oh.
You have Nethermancers, which are not quite necromancers. They deal with the astral plane, and they're really, really... Yeah.
That's what you were just mentioning, an example
of. Nethermancers deal with the astral plane. They're excellent spirit summoners. Sometimes they do deal with corpses, the dead, and stuff like that. They deal with a lot of fear magic, but they are really, really adept at taking on the horrors, which are the big bads of Earthdawn. Every so many millennia or so, the world goes through another magic cycle where the manosphere gets really, really powerful, and it draws these extra dimensional beings called the horrors that come and basically feed on the manosphere and also wreak untold havoc. And that's why everybody retreats to these underground safe havens called caves. But when the manosphere drops to a safe level, people come out of the caves again and repopulate the world. So
underground bunkers, essentially.
Yeah.
Cave. Well, are they more like caves, or are they actually underground?
They can be underground cities.
Almost like Underdark, but not quite so deep or malevolent.
Yeah. And then the last.
Do they persist during peacetime, or do they? So these places were dug out during previous ages, but do they?
Oracles can usually predict when another bout of the horrors are going to invade.
Right, but the places are still there, these cares.
Yeah.
So one could go explore them.
A lot of the dungeon crawling in the game is pretty much delving into these cares for lost artifacts and stuff.
That's pretty cool. That gives a good reason why all of these underground places that don't really have good explanations elsewhere would exist.
Yep, and the last spellcaster is a wizard. The classic spellcaster deals with time and space magic. I think they're the only spellcasting class that actually has a resurrection spell. And
the wizard.
The wizard.
Well, if he's the master of space and time, resurrection kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they basically travel into the astral plane, chasing after that silver thread that attaches your soul to your body, and then basically reel you back in.
It's interesting.
But, wizards are also the consummate intelligentsia. A wizard cannot look stupid in front of everybody. They're the Sherlock Holmes of all of the disciplines. They have to look brilliant and intelligent in everything they do, and they're highly perceptive and all that.
Oh.
Another thing I liked about Earthdawn is the magic items, because the magic items, once you've attached one of your spirit threads, and made the item yours, you learn new things about the item, and you can basically feed your legend points, which are your experience points in the game, into the item to make it grow with you. And basically, every single threaded magic item is a unique thing. Like you don't. There is nothing like a +2 sword, or even a Vorpal sword. No, you find Kegel's broadsword, and it starts out looking like a rusty blade, but once you figure out, it was Kegel's old sword, maybe reforge it or visit an old care that he visited, you can unlock its powers, and eventually it gets the power to, throw a flame around it to do extra damage, or light up a room, or deal extra damage to horrors.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Legion of Myth is right. The wizard's evidence analysis talent can be almost game-breaking in a pure investigative adventure. Yeah, and evidence analysis, the way I see it, is exactly the way it's done in the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where this mustn't register on an emotional level, and then everything slows down to a crawl, and he just explains everything as he observes everything and predicts everything. But yeah, it's like that. But Earthdawn also uses a unique mechanic of their step system. The step system is based on a mathematical constant or a formula or analogy that's named after a famous mathematician. I can't remember what it is. But basically, your attribute and your talent levels determine what step you use, and the step determines what dice pool you roll. Like, just pulling this out of my head, step 15 might give you like 2d8 and a d6 to roll. Oh my God, Indigo Dragon, I am going to kill you. But
that's three. I wonder. Let's have
that's the new drinking game. That's the new drinking game.
It's the drinking game for the evening.
Forms, drink.
And we're gonna have a poll. We're gonna have it's not a poll. Put in chat how many times do you think the new person in will say this? So we're at 3. How high will it go by the end of the chat?
But okay, back to steps. The dice are open-ended, so if you roll the maximum, that's it. Thank you, Legion of Myth. I can sleep now because it's going to keep me up all night. Oh, thank you. I gotta write that down. But anyways, the dice are open-ended, so if you roll the maximum on any die, you take another die of the same type, roll it, and then add them together.
You just add them, because some of the exploding dice mechanics have you reduce the number of your first die by 1, which I thought I read that in this one game. So if you roll a d6 and you get a 6, well, you make that 6 a 5 and roll a d6, and then you add the new result. So I'm not sure why they do that, but
nope, not unless I missed something. But so, anyway, yes. One more thing, a little bit about Earthdawn is that I believe it is the first role-playing game to have introduced the concept of healing surges. That was big in 4th edition. You get, based on your toughness stat, you get a number of recovery tests per day.
Oh.
And most healing, you only get those couple of times. And other than that, you'll need actual real healing potions to supplement your healing.
Is it
And
actual healing, or is it more like in D&D where hit points are more um, uh, maybe your first few are actual health and the rest of it is luck and stamina and experience?
maybe you do have an unconsciousness rating and a death rating. Your unconsciousness rating is how much damage you can take before you fall unconscious, and your death rating is how much damage you can take before you actually die.
You know, I think Legion of Myth over on his channel, on their channel, they have some um, Earthdawn videos, maybe
Yes,
one or two.
I have watched almost all of them. They're very good.
And do you have Legion of Myth? Do you have is one of your 10-minute deals on Earthdawn, or did you just leave that for the longer ones? Anyway, we'll give him a chance to answer that. So yes, the healing surges. So
Yeah.
and Earthdawn came out long before 4th edition.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool. Anything else you want to say? So okay, so you've given a lot of good. You would like to do either play or GM?
I would play or GM, but I will be playing. I will be a GM this
Right.
weekend. Yeah.
So you did a 10-minute intro to erectile dysfunction. That's kind of off topic a little bit.
Oh.
So 10-minute Legion of Myth has a 10-minute intro to Earthdawn on their channel.
Well,
If I recall,
watch, yeah, he also has
some longer
a
ones.
video
Sure.
on every class too, or discipline.
On what's that again?
He has videos on every discipline too.
Oh, that's cool. So he has an intro. They have an intro as well as detailed videos. Several.
Yeah.
Several. I was only kidding earlier when I said one or two. I know they had more than that. So.
If you want for this weekend, you can watch his Swordmaster video for your character.
I know a little bit about it just from reputation, but yeah, I probably should. He said they are the flamboyant's not the right word. They're swashbuckler types.
Very, very much swashbucklers.
Which is cool. I like that. All right.
Over to you.
And okay, so you do have something ready for this weekend.
Yes.
Good deal. And would you have, so if someone said, hey, Pat, we need you to do a long-term campaign, would you be able to do that at the drop of a hat for Earthdawn? You would have something you could probably run, like say at Cabin Con.
I plan on running some games at Cabin Con.
Good deal. All right. And before we go back over to me, what do you think about it that is most different from D&D?
It's most different,
or just something something that you think sets it apart from D&D as an RPG.
It's a lot freer in way of like disciplines. You have a more freeform development. If you want to really develop your like melee weapon skill, you can do that. You can be a first circle warrior with like a rank 5 in melee weapons if you want, or you can spread out your legend points to get many different abilities. You could, if they're even compatible, you can join another discipline. Like like a lot of the spellcasting disciplines work well together, and somebody who's considered to have mastered his craft in one area can take on different type of magic if he wants.
It seems we have an invader in our chat here. That's some weird characters there.
Seek and destroy.
Unless Samla Jalsi, which sounds like a very suspect name. can explain themselves, you will get booted here in a couple of minutes. Anyway,
Drop the ban hammer on him. The biggest ban hammer.
The biggest. Nobody knows ban hammers like me. Everybody knows that. All right, so my first game I want to talk about is Hackmaster. This is the newest edition. This is not Hackmaster 4th edition. This is just Hackmaster. A lot of people call it 5th edition.
Yeah, I have the 4th edition.
Right. Hackmaster was originally a phony game over at
Knights of the Dinner Table?
Yes, Knights of the Dinner Table talked about a fictitious game called Hackmaster, and it was pretty much a parody. And Warhamster and a couple other games, they just made them up, and it's a very enjoyable comic. Eventually, they were able to get some licensing from, I believe it was Wizards of the Coast at the time, still is, to make an actual game because their fans really wanted them to. And so they made it. It was still parody, full on parody of D&D at the time, AD&D, not 3rd edition, because 3rd edition was around the time it came out. Can't remember if it was slightly before or slightly after. I don't remember the timing. But I picked up a little bit of that here and there. And further on down the line, I don't remember the timeline, they decided to do their own game, which is what this is. And what I'm most drawn to, the bits that remain are probably some lore, the world they developed, names of certain things, but it's not D&D. It has some resemblance, but it's really not D&D, especially not the initiative system, which, and it's too bad that that Bruce isn't on yet, but maybe he'll still be on while I talk about it. He'll come on. Maybe he'll come on while I'm talking about it.
That initiative system for Hackmaster is a lot like another role-playing game I played called Arcanus.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I really like it.
Yeah.
It's just something you need to get used to.
Yeah, because when you're used to cyclic initiatives like in D&D, going to what this is, what it is it's tracked second by second. So each thing that when you start off, you roll an initiative die like most games, and you have modifiers to it which make it smaller instead of larger. So you want small numbers, so you act earliest because that tells you what second you first act in. You do your first thing that you do for the combat, and then each subsequently what you decide to do has a time element to it, and in a number of seconds. And then starting from the time after your first action, let's say you rolled and you had 3, you act in second 3, and you do your thing. Your subsequent actions, let's say you want to swing your sword again, let's say it takes 5 seconds to do that, you would act in second 8 subsequently. That's very rough. It's probably slightly wrong, but that's the gist. And that applies to anything you would do. Movement, spell casting, anything. And so you just... Right. So, and then there's no real cycles to it. You just count off the seconds, and then folks who can act faster act more rapidly and get more actions per unit of time than, say, slower folk. So, and that's how that works. And it seems to, on paper, it looks more dynamic and a little more interesting than just you roll your die and then you wait for your turn, you do your thing, you wait for your turn, you do your thing. It's always in the same order throughout the whole combat. It's kind of predictable, kind of boring, but I mean, it's something we're all used to. It's easy to step into for all the games that do that still, which is most games. But that's the main thing I like about Hackmaster.
Yeah, I totally gel with that kind of initiative system, and I plan on wholeheartedly adapting it for my own game.
Right. Hackmaster is very similar, but not the same as D&D. It uses a lot of the same verbiage for characters. You have, wizard and I think it's fighting man, perhaps something like that. I can't remember. It's been a while
the
since
old
I've read it.
fighting man.
But they have 4 basic classes and then some subclasses as well. And the way the experience works is a little different, and you spend your experience instead of just accumulating it, kind of like with Earthdawn, because you accumulate your legend points and then you spend them on things. And you do that in a similar fashion with Hackmaster, if I'm remembering correctly. But it's a very familiar game to D&D, but just not exactly the same. And the thing that sets it apart the most is, I believe, the initiative part of the game. Combat is a little different. Once you get past that, the other thing that's different about it, combat-wise, is when you do combat, it's all opposed rolls. So the attacker and defender both roll. And then if you win, of course, you hit. And then armor can blunt the attack. Shields can do that as well. Shields operate a little differently in the game. But it's a bit modular. So what they suggest you do is you do little bits at a time until you get familiar with it. And
I enjoy modular games.
Right. So I'm planning on running some mock combats for Hackmaster at Cabin Con.
Excellent, because I only got to try it out the one time at your place.
Right. So most parries. Yes, Bruce says Hackmaster does have a -4 on most parries. So I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but that's good stuff. So we're going to test out Hackmaster's combat, and it's not really tongue in cheek. Not really. There's some the fifth edition. There's some naming of things that's kind of funny, like the grunge elf. There's a couple other things like that.
Holdover.
The monster book I have over here, I think their monster book, the Hacklopedia of Beasts. So there's still a little bit of tongue in cheek in some things, but you could still run it as a serious game.
I wonder if they still have the White Rabbit from Monty Python.
I'm sure they do. They don't call it that, of course, but the White Rabbit. I can pull the book. Hold on.
Or if they have the some of the spells in Hackmaster 4th edition.
So the books are very well made. This is the Hacklopedia of Beasts.
It's very pretty.
It looks like an encyclopedia. And same thing for the player's handbook. Leather. I think it's faux leather. I don't think it's real leather. They're very heavy. You could do a workout with these things. So, and I don't know
notes for my own game.
I don't know how well you can see the page here.
Yeah.
It's pretty well laid out and professionally done, but just like every other game that is ever made on God's green earth, they kind of forget something called an editor. So, I mean, it's a rare creature, kind of like a unicorn. So maybe that's why most game designers, don't use one, because they're hard to find. By hard, I mean expensive. It makes your books cost more. But I wonder.
I mean, I have an English degree, and I was told time and time again, don't ever be your own editor.
Right, because you're going to miss things because you wrote it all. There's going to be things there's going to be a lot of things you catch, but there's going to be a lot of things you don't.
Because you read it differently because you wrote it, and your head will fill in things that are actually missing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything like that is in here. But it might have a weird name. But all the very familiar monster types are in here. Bugbear, Brownie, Basilisk, Etten. They have something called a Grell. But yes. I think that's the Grunge Elf. I think it's a short for Grunge Elf. What's that?
Max says, don't be your own lawyer and don't be your own editor.
Right. So the game suffers from editing issues. It's another reason why I've kind of drugged my feet to actually play it, because when I read through the player's handbook, it's kind of like you're like, how can you not have seen these things? But what can you do? It's very common in the industry, for reasons we already talked about. So I think I would like to play it as well as GM it, but I and Randy are, as far as I know, the only ones who own in our gaming group. Though it's a pretty decent sized group, around 20 or so folks here locally. I think we're the only ones who have the books, and I don't even have the DMG. It was they were trying to gear up for a new print run for it, so hopefully I can get a hold of it at some point.
I have the PDFs.
But editors are expensive. Yes, I'm sure they are, because it takes a long time. Yeah, and I think having actual editing runs extends your print or your development time for your book quite a bit. So there's that too. All right. So at the moment, I do not have anything truly ready for this game that I'm running at Cabin Con. But honestly, I just need to. I'm only going to run mock battles because the initiative system is unfamiliar enough that I think I need some practice at it. If I do, I might try to have something ready so that if I say by Saturday I'm comfortable enough, I might actually run something more complete. All right.
Moving on
to Patrick's number 2.
Shadowrun.
Sixth World. Now, I'm not familiar with that cover. What is that? What edition?
It's the 6th edition.
Oh, okay. Sixth World, 6th edition.
World, okay. 6th edition. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the various editions of this game, because each edition that came out took one step forward and another step back.
That particular edition?
Every single one of them.
Oh, okay.
The editions were kind of similar between... Oh, Max.
It has they, them pronouns. That's probably why he's calling it that.
Oh,
how do you stand on that?
My favorite was 3rd edition.
So Legion of Myth contends 2nd edition is the best edition. Hopefully this does not devolve into an edition war. So no. Gentlemen remain calm.
Mainly the big thing I like about 3rd edition was the fact that all the various spells for mages got correlated. Instead of a different spell for each damage setting, they were all just one spell. So instead of mana dart, mana missile, mana ball, mana bolt, you just had mana bolt, and then you chose which
configuration
you wanted to do, and then your drain was calculated based on that. But anyways, for those who don't know, Shadowrun is a cyberpunk role-playing game. Except the big twist is that there's magic in it. and all the old races of Earthdawn. Yes, Earthdawn was the one of the previous worlds when it was tied to Shadowrun before 4th edition, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't. That wasn't a first edition thing being tied to Shadowrun.
First and second, I think even 3rd edition was tied to Earthdawn, but I think they cut it off when 4th edition came along.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that.
Tied to Shadowrun back when FASA was still a company under I can't remember his name. Anyway, yes, Max. Earthdawn is the 4th age. Shadowrun is the 6th age. But you have your classic tropes of your street samurai, your data hackers, but you also have in the mix mages and shamans who can summon spirits and use magic. Jordan Weissman, oh, thank you, Max, saving my butt. Jordan Weissman, I will still never forgive myself for the missed opportunity. The one game I have put out, Elemental Conflux, I got Jordan Weissman to stop by and play the game with us, and I did not think to fricking take pictures. So,
well, I'm sure if you cornered him and twisted his arm behind his back, he would admit to actually playing your game.
Yeah.
But he probably remembered if you. I mean.
Oh yeah, dude's totally chillax.
Yeah.
But I love Shadowrun. Actually, the role-playing game was not my first introduction to Shadowrun. My first introduction to Shadowrun was the Sega Genesis game.
Well, right. So you played the Sega game before you played the tabletop game.
Yes, and I loved I loved the high tech and magic kind of thrown in the mix, and it was a dark, dreary world, and it was dystopian and stuff, and your mercenaries running the shadows. And I thought this would be an awesome role playing game.
I remember
role-playing game.
Yeah, I remember years ago when Dragon Magazine was worth getting. They advertised a game called Torg, and it seemed to have a similar theme to it. Earth having transforming after some event, and now there's magic. But I might be remembering that correctly. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
So Torg does do that?
Kind of. Pointy Hat Games shared a booth wall with the guys who run Torg. But I never stepped over to look at their role-playing game. But Earthdawn made a big change when it hit 4th edition. The way target numbers and stuff are done in classic Shadowrun is that you just have a target number and you roll an entire container of 6-sided dice to try and hit the numbers. And it's one of those ones where if your target number is like a 7 or a 9, you gotta get a 6 on one of those dice and then roll another 6-sided die to try to hit the target number. But with 4th edition, you just roll your dice and you count the number of 5s and 6s you get. Now, I am not the guy that scoffs at the just getting a number of 5s and 6s. It reminds me a lot of, oh my God. My brain is just not working tonight. The Aliens RPG.
Oh, yes.
Hidden Lands.
Right.
That system.
Yes.
Free League system.
Free League. Yeah, it's the Free League system. Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who really turn their back.
Year Zero engine.
Year Zero engine. Oh my
Yes.
god.
I was trying to beat Legion of Myth because I knew he was going to do it. So I barely nick of time.
Yeah, I'll take it to recovering from a stomach bug for me. I think I have to turn in my gamer card now. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people turned their back on Shadowrun at 4th edition. I did not. I think there were a lot of cool things with 4th edition Shadowrun. 5th edition Shadowrun, that started getting into some weird stuff where they had like limits on how many successes you can get. And Magic started doing some weird stuff. But now, 6th edition Shadowrun, they did some cool things, but it was 1 step forward, 3 steps back, and I don't know. I can't.
So you have it, but it's not your favorite edition.
Oh no, not by far.
I have it one. Let's see. I have second edition. I have 2nd edition Shadowrun. Is that one of the approved editions?
What's that?
Is that one of the approved acceptable editions? 2nd edition?
Second. Oh yeah. 2nd edition is one of the best.
Good deal. Oh,
but I will always.
Poo.
Yeah.
That's no good. Omen Owl says 5th edition removed the ability to make your own spells. That's no fun.
Yeah, I think I don't even know if they put the stuff back in for the Street Grimoire. No, I don't think they did.
What's that?
Usually the Street Grimoire is the magic book they put out for every edition, and I don't think they put in the spell design rules.
What was that you just said? That last bit?
They didn't put back in the spell design rules.
Oh, that's the one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as Shadowrun goes, give me a couple of days and I can have a campaign ready. I have files, folders, and file folders of NPC characters, locations, and points of interest for an entire Seattle campaign. I have so many great memories of Shadowrun, so many runners that I would love to run through the shadows again. And
shadow running is a thing,
mm-hmm.
right? That's the net running bit, or is that actually the running through the shadows of the alleys against the corporations?
Shadowrunning is the mercenary work you take.
Right. And that's basically pitting one corporation against the other or being against a particular one, which is a bad idea because they hold all the power or something like that.
The agents called Mr. Johnson will offer you work, and it's up to your team whether or not you negotiate proper pay and the stuff you need to do to perform the Shadowrun, and it's the work you do is the Shadowrun,
and it's sanctioned by Mr. Johnson and whoever is behind Mr. Johnson.
Whoever's behind Mr. Johnson,
right? But can you do shadowing running that's not sanctioned?
I'm sure you could. I mean, if you had a vendetta against a particular corporation, there's nothing stopping you from going in and stealing data files or something.
But okay, so I like being playing good guy versus bad guy. I mean, in these games, but in Shadowrun, it's dystopian, shades of gray. Nobody's really the good guy or the bad guy. Everybody's just.
Oh, okay. I know what you're saying. The what you're talking about, playing the good guy, is what the Shadowrun world calls pudding, as in Robin Hooding.
Ah. Oh, that sounds derisive.
Well, and you can also choose to not take a job too if you know it's going to harm innocents and stuff like that.
Right.
But
But I understand it's a dystopian. It has that feel of the gray. Everything's gray. Yeah. But could you take the Cyberrun and I mean, could you play that game Shadowrun in that vein and kind of turn it on its edge a little bit and have fun with it?
Sure. The only thing is I would not like do a one-shot thing anymore, because Shadowrun has this, I think it may just be me, but Shadowrun has this nasty habit of attracting the psychopaths players, where it's like, oh, we're criminals. But yeah, just because you're a criminal doesn't mean you're a deranged psychopath who murders every NPC. And last time I ran it at Cabin Con, that's exactly what happened. It turned out to be a freaking murder fest.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And it's like, nope, never doing this again. So I Shadowrun, I will only run campaigns where you please get attached to your character because you're going to be using it.
Gotcha. So, but that's one of the main things that sets it apart is the tone.
The guard booth. Martinson just mentioned the guard booth. I had one guy who they did the Shadowrun. They got into the port. They got with the crate they needed, and they were driving out with a delivery truck. Had everything running smooth. Guards didn't even know what hit them. And then one of the players decided, okay, there's no punishment for me acting out in this game. So I'm going to take a frag grenade, toss it in the guard booth, and drive off laughing maniacally.
Oh boy!
So obliterated the guys in the guard booth, set off an alarm, and by the end of the scenario, where I just decided, okay, that's it, I'm done tonight. He had gone on a Grand Theft Auto style citywide police chase with Lone Star, where they had helicopters and stuff chasing after this vehicle. And it's like, this has become complete clown shoes. I'm done.
Well,
we'll figure out how this goes, next week. Right.
The thing about convention play, and that can apply to Cabin Con, is one shots can be a little cheap. So people can tend to act in a kind of a emotionally heightened state, I guess you can say, where they just want to murder everything or whatever, act where they may not act in a home campaign. And because, to be fair, at Cabin Con, and I would imagine at other conventions, I've never been to any other ones, people want something a little different. So something special, something to remember. So this is the day that I murdered a whole world. Yay!
Yeah, and in Shadowrun, I really get into storycraft, and I really get into attaching people to NPCs.
Could do a Cabin Con campaign. Oops. Like Randy does with 13th Age, just have something that's done every time, and maybe even run some stuff back home afterwards too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But let's move on to your next pick.
Okie dokie. Yes, one shots lets you test the system, like what I'm going to do with Hackmaster. With Hackmaster, with the game that I forgot the name of momentarily.
That's why Murder Hobo is a legitimate criticism of all role-playing games.
Yeah. Test the system, that means you're allowed to see if you're able to be a psychopathic murderer. Somebody else said something like that.
Everybody wants to be chaotic neutral.
With regard to Shadowrun, to be fair, the system encourages psychopaths.
Only
The
if you
system
want.
or the setting? Maybe the setting does. I don't know about the system because it said the system. How does the system do that? That would be interesting to find out. Encourages. You get experience points for acting weird. Okay. Maybe he means the setting, and they're kind of tied to so tightly together. It's the same.
I think a lot of people associate criminal with psychopath.
Right. Well,
and not like maybe fancy art thief who never hurts anybody.
Right. Oh, that was a movie. Couple. All right. My next one is Rifts.
Oh, pure liquid crazy.
Yes. I have in my possession. What version is this? Well, I don't think there's multiple versions of Rifts. This is the 9th printing from September 1995.
Printings, yes, but if there's one thing you can say about Kevin Symbiotta is his role-playing game has pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah, minor tweaks.
Though as it has gotten.
Yeah, but I like Rifts. Rifts, I've had different opinions of it over the years. Draco Pole, spit take Rifts, haha. Yes.
Spit take, need a drink.
Yes. For me, Rifts is kind of the ultimate kind of like playing heavy metal. The cartoon, a movie, heavy metal. Rifts kind of represents that because in a way, because in a Rifts game, you could have all those different kinds of things in it. With the addition of the second heavy metal movie, which is more Rifts-like in the post-apocalyptic realm. Because if I remember, that's the first movie I'm thinking of. Anyway, you got a post-apocalyptic rifts from different dimensions open up and all kinds of weird critters hop through, and the Earth forms a pretty much fascist totalitarian state, uber state,
America,
to fend off the DBs, dimensional beings, and then you have your other faction. There's multiple factions, but the two main ones are, and I can't remember it. What's the name of? Huh?
The NGR, the New German Republic.
No, I mean what I just described, the big conglomerate of North American fascist.
The coalition.
The coalition. So you got the coalition, and then you have the magic guys.
Federation of Magic.
So those are
strangely enough, it's located in this magic land called Tolkien.
Yeah, isn't that
it's
something?
Here in mid-Michigan.
Because Michigan is magical, apparently.
Well, Michigan is also Kevin Symbiota's home.
Right. So
I ain't complaining.
Right. So those bits aside, because I don't like the coalition. I would never. If I ran a player, I would not want to be a coalition dude. But it's interesting background for the story, and there's all kinds of craziness. You can be a lowly headhunter, or a dragon, or a godling, or any number of. You can be a vampire. I believe there's a vampire version, but some of those are restricted to world books. In any event, though, I like one of the things that you said earlier about the Paladium system, and is that it's fairly standard across all the different games, Rifts, Paladium Fantasy, and anything else you can imagine that they use.
The only one that had the second edition to it.
Correct, revised. I have the revised one back here, and that's one of the great things about it, is that it hasn't really changed. There's been minor tweaks over the years, but not a huge deal.
Is it balanced? Oh God, no.
And that's awesome. It doesn't need to be. I think people worry about balance too much.
Just don't let your players play godlings.
Or whatever. I mean, with balance. If things are too balanced, it gets boring.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing you probably can't say about Rifts. Boring is not it. You may think it's gonzo or wonky. I'll call it wonky. Gonzo's not precisely it, but it's pretty close.
If I had one complaint about Rifts, it's that I don't really care for the system quite so much. Now, dude can write some world books and some fluff and some setting stuff. That's awesome. But like, one of the problems I have with the system is all the skills are percentile based, where you have a skill from 1% to 98%, which is where it tops off. I can't remember in the book, but a person with a 98% skill has the same chance of succeeding at a skill, a 98% chance of installing if you have like a computer skill. Stop that. If you have a computer skill, a person with a 98% computer skill has a 98% chance of installing a program on that computer, and he still has a 98% chance of hacking some coalition mainframe with like maximum security measures. I don't think there's a scaler for like difficulty.
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't run it much. I've played in it a bit. I would really love to dig into it. And actually, yes, Bruce Lombardo has something funny to say. I love how Rifts has replaced all the insurance companies in Iowa and Illinois and replaced them with death bomb factories. Lots of power plants to make mega damage capacity armor. Yes, and that's one of the things that sets Paladium apart from D&D is two different types of armor. You have
Max
SDC.
Max says you're supposed to
add modifiers.
Add modifiers to rolls. Okay, I guess I missed that. I have not looked at a Paladium in a long time.
Right.
Even though I have a ton downstairs.
Right. So, what was I just saying? I lost my momentum. I would love to. No problem. It's a game I'd love to run. I'd like to dig deep into it and either play it and or run it. I'd love to run a game, a long campaign in Rifts. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
You were talking about SDC versus MDC.
SDC, yes. SDC, it's one of the things that sets apart. Thank you, Pat. It's one of the things that sets it apart from D&D. You have two levels of armor, structural damage capacity, SDC, and mega damage capacity, MDC. If you are going up against something with MDC and all you have are weapons like, regular guns, it'll just bounce off and do no damage whatsoever, no matter how many bullets you throw at it.
The unfair thing is that 1 MDC damage equals 100 SDC damage, but 100 SDC damage does not equal 1 mega damage.
Right. I know that there is some alternate rule or something. I was listening to one of the Legion of Myth episodes in one of the books. It said something about if you do 100 damage in one shot, it would equal 1 mega damage. But I can't remember what the circumstances were, what book that was in. Anyway,
I thought that was in the Core Rifts book. Is that
right? So Core Rifts, no, I don't think so. But it's some other variant rule somewhere. 100 STC equals 1 MD according to Legion of Myth. So it is somewhere. I think because of the organization issues that all Paladium books have, where it's something that would be easily overlooked. Because not all of the rules that pertain to a particular situation like this are all in the one spot together for easy reference. Easy reference is not something Kevin Sambita does. Not really. So yeah, Rifts and Paladium in general has this.
Apparently, the change was in Rift's second edition. Heathen Dog knows better than I do. Okay, if they changed it, that's fine. I think that's a good change.
Yeah. So I didn't realize they had a second edition. That's cool. But it's like that thing there, the 100 STC equals 1 MD. It's kind of a minor change because you have to shoot a lot of bullets to get 100 STC. And by the time you shoot that many bullets, that 1 MD pulse cannon shot, or multiple MD likely, is going to make all of you grease stains on the ground. But unless you have MDC armor. So you can have MDC armor, or you could be an MDC creature player like a dragon.
Max just said Rift's Ultimate is the second edition. Okay,
I've seen that book.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I will have to pick that up.
So yeah, where D&D you have armor class and you have your hit points, you have damage reduction that reduces damage, but you don't really have the MDC equivalent in the D&D paradigm.
Right.
Not really. So when you're fighting supernatural creatures have it generally. It's really big, like spaceships and whatnot. I think maybe something like the size of a battleship, a big carrier probably has should have MDC, but may not. It may just have gigantic amounts of SDC, which is different from hit points. So you could have in Rifts 3 different quantities of points to keep track of. Hit points, SDC, and MDC. You could. I'm not sure if that's true. I think so. If you're an MDC creature, you might have all 3.
The way, no, I think you only have one or the other. You're either an SDC creature or an MDC.
Yeah, that may be true. Yeah.
The way they described SDC is, the John Wayne shrugging off bullets. It's just a scratch. But hit points are where you're actually wounded and bleeding. That's
your squishy bits.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you don't have very many.
No.
There's not that many. You definitely don't have generally speaking, 100. You might.
Building.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. I know you've watched some Legion of Myth, but have you watched many of their Paladium videos? Because Max will wax rhapsodic about how he does not like all of the skills adding various things, like acrobatics and athletics and boxing and all of that. It's quite entertaining.
I will have to check out those videos. I think I will, starting tomorrow.
Another plug for them. This year they said they're having their year of Paladium. So they've had some in the past, and now they're doing this whole year. They're doing Paladium books. I am listening to the beginning of the year started with the Invid invasion. So, in any event, Rifts. If you're wanting science fiction and fantasy and aliens and Cthulhu all jammed together, with post-apocalyptic fascist overlords who only are looking out for your best interests, Rifts could be very fun. So that's my pick number 2. Patrick?
Pick number 3. Harp.
Oh, I've heard of Harp.
High adventure role playing. This Harp is an offshoot of Rolemaster, and
oh, I'm sorry. I got to make a correction. It's not the Invid invasion. It's the Mechanoid invasion.
Okay.
Slightly different. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Harp's an offshoot of Rolemaster.
Okay.
And it's a very, very streamlined, very simplified Rolemaster.
What's it compared to Harn? I've heard of Harn.
I think Harn is a setting for a role-playing game.
Harn is a setting, not a system. Okay, that may be.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
I'm going to quote.
But if you were to
timestamp and write it down.
If you were to take Rollmaster and if you take Rollmaster, cut down a lot of collate a lot of its skills, and in Rollmaster where you make an attack, you roll the D100, add your bonuses, consult a chart, depending on which weapon. Okay, slashing chart. All right, I do compared to his armor, I do X amount of damage and B slashing critical. Then go to the slashing critical charts, look up the B criticals, roll again, and okay, I cut off his toe. Low blow cuts toe.
Is that considering the defense? Isn't there a defensive roll that you get?
Well, you can choose how much of your attack you want to put as defense, and it's subtracted from the guy's roll.
Okay.
But Harp takes out a lot of the tables, and it's just one table. If you're attacking with a sword, they have the slashing table. It tells how much damage you do, and what critical you do, and what the critical does.
All with one roll.
Yes.
On one table, one roll. Okay. Yeah.
Harp also cuts out the 40 million spell lists.
I thought that was one of the charms of Rollmaster.
There's a charm to it.
Yes.
Like Fire Law, you have Firebolt, Firebolt 2, Firebolt 3, Firebolt 5, Firebolt 10. Yeah. And then you have Fireball 50. 1, Fireball 5. And then you have
20 and 50 20. And 75. I can't remember if it goes much past 50. But anyway, yeah.
But in Harp, you'll just take the Elemental Bolt spell and use Firebolt. And then the spell actually has options on it. Okay, I want to make this. I want to do extra fire damage with this. I'll add on this to my roll. Or I want to use it to set the guy on fire. So I'll add X to my roll. So you can pick and choose spells instead of spell lists.
So you're going to have Firebolt, and then you do, or whatever, and then you'll just add extra effects depending on how many points you add. Okay.
Yep. And in a lot of ways, each spell is essentially one of Rollmaster's entire spell lists, and all of the additional spells inside the spell list are just different effects you can make that spell do.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of the same thing, but different presentation and consolidated.
And very, very consolidated. It's very bite-sized. And I think it's...
Well, considering that Harn or Harp you have there, that's one volume. You only need the one volume to play?
Yeah, it has all of the character classes. It has most of the spells in there. Now, there are additional books, like the College of Magic, which adds a whole ton of extra magic stuff to it. I don't think there's much of a bestiary in here.
Because I got, a while back, I got a Rollmaster. I'll pull one of them out. Rollmaster Standard System.
Oh, yep.
This is spell law.
Yep, that's pretty much it. You need a Rollmaster needed like 3 separate books to spell the version I have is these 3 little red books. It's all of spell law, but it's divided into the essence spells, channeling spells, and mentalism spells.
Right. I have that over in my corner over there. The blue box set.
Yep. Yeah. We're actually going to Gen Con this year, and as usual, we're sharing the booth with Iron Crown. And it's going to be a stretch to see if Rollmaster Unified is going to be there in time, but
they were almost there, I thought, 2 years ago.
I thought so too. But I guess I guess there was an artist who like disappeared off the face of the planet.
I wonder who that it was. There's a couple of Twitter threads about two different artists that kind of resurfaced, like washing cars or something weird like that.
And I know Aaron Smalley was working on tables for it and stuff, and they've got a lot of that stuff finished now. I think it's the print run that may just miss the Gen Con window because it takes a few months to print.
So hopefully that is the case, because sometimes, I'm not talking about Iron Crown in particular, but sometimes game design companies will say, we're almost there, and they're almost there for years. We're almost at the printers. I mean, it's usually Kickstarter people who basically abscond with your money.
That's a few Kickstarters I have money tied in right now. I'm looking at you, Divinity 2.
Oh boy, I'm scared. Don't be Divinity 2 when Patrick rolls around.
Yeah, 2 years past their we're going to deliver it to you date, and the recent update has been, oh, by the way, we brought on a few extra people, and we've completely redesigned the game from the ground up.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, your Kickstarter. Yeah. That nice? Isn't that nice? So with Harp, is it also made by Iron Crown?
Yes.
Okay, so it's their thing. Okay, so is it distinct from Rollmaster setting wise, or is it their generic version?
It's like Rollmaster. It's kind of generic.
Well, yeah, Rollmaster's already generic, right? Yeah.
But Harp does. I don't believe Harp has a specified setting. I think they just have a bunch of extra collection books, like a bestiary and folkways for all the different races and stuff. But that's about as much setting material as you get.
Well, having the races in a bestiary would go a long way to showing what an implied setting would be like. And the classes. I mean, they're not, from what I remember from Rollmaster, there's, they have specific named classes, so that would be part of your implied setting as well. And they a little bit like Middle Earth, do they still have high men and orcs and stuff like that you can actually play?
Yep. I'm not sure what came first, Middle Earth role-playing or Rollmaster, but all three of these games share a lot of blood.
Well, I think Rollmaster Spell Law, I believe, came out first as a supplement for D&D, a proposed supplement for D&D. And then either the Middle Earth thing happened, or the Rollmaster generic thing happened, and then they made Middle Earth role playing from Rollmaster. But I can't remember the timing of that.
Oh, Dracopole, don't worry. I would never back a Kickstarter by Ken Witless.
Yeah, I've heard. Yes, I've heard a lot of bad things about Mr. Whitman.
He has an entire website called Not Another Dime for Ken or something like that.
Yes. I don't think Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern, Tenkar's Tavern likes him very much.
No.
He has lots of salty words for him.
Well, he deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, from what I understand. All right. Anything more you want to talk about with Harp?
I would run Harp. I would play Harp. I would play or run Harp long before I would do Rollmaster.
Oh, okay. Because of it being so compressed or streamlined?
I feel like you need a program to run Rollmaster effectively. Right.
And that's going to be my problem with Hackmaster, if it seems like for me to be able to, I can run math in my head pretty fast and easy. Oh, here we go. Rollmaster 1980, Middle Earth 82.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Dragon Pole.
You're
Draco
up.
Pole. All right. Oh, and on that note, hold on. Hold the phone. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff. All right.
Are we done with phone holding?
All right. Moving along. That was your number 3, right? So
Yeah, it was my number 3.
now, my number 3 is one that I thought Pat was also going to choose, but and then we would just overlap. But he saw it on my list and decided to just let me run with it. So we can both talk about it. He knows more about it. Ars Magica. I remember when it first came out. I don't have the first edition rules, but I remember the blurb about it. Ars Magica is set in a fictitious old England, old
Mythic
Earth.
Europe.
Yeah, Mythic Europe.
Yeah, Mythic Europe is the official setting name.
And so all the familiar names of places are there. I don't think they have new, do they? I mean, there's London and there's Germany, but they call it. But in the old days, it was called something else. Germania, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, Matt, if you get a chance, do play it. It's a simple game. The mechanics wise, it's actually really simplistic, but the fun of the game is all the invention you get to do, because the game seriously encourages invention. You're not a real magus unless you invent all of your spells. Don't just pick from the grimoire. Get creative.
And so the one time Pat was running an Ars Magica campaign, and I joined in midstream, and I decided to do something off the wall, and I happened to roll. Okay, so when you are because in this game you play the way you're supposed to play is what is called troop play for this game. Troop play in other games, you have a stable of your own characters, 3 or 4, and you just pick one from among them and play them, and each player at the table does that, and that's troop play in one sense. Troop play in the Ars Magica sense is there are wizards. What's the name of the? Are they called wizards?
There's magi. There are companions.
Right. So magi and grogs. Yeah. So magi, companions, and grogs. But the magi are the stars because they're the ones that have most of the magical power. Your companions might be minor, but they might also be fighting types. And your grogs.
Companions can also be magic types as well.
Yes. Right. But they're not quite as powerful.
No, nobody's as powerful as
correct. Right. And then your grogs are all like your camp follower types.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what you're encouraged to do is have several people have grogs, some companions. Everybody can maybe have a magi, but when you play, only one is played, or maybe not at all. And then the rest
plays the magi, and everybody else plays
the
companions or grogs.
Yeah.
That is not the way I play.
Right. So when I say Ars Magica, it is, Pat's way, where everybody gets to play a magi, and that can be a little wonky because you're powerful. So I played one in his game, and in this game you can
magus.
Huh?
A Russian Verdidius magus.
That's what I was playing. Yeah, I can't.
But you were from House Verdidius.
Okay, it's been so long I can't remember those details, but I do remember. Right, I remember. You can cast the rote spells that are in the book, and they're easy to cast.
You can invent your own rote spells too. You just have to actually learn them.
Right.
Commit them to memory.
Right, but then you can do spontaneous magic and just because you have several skills, several magical skills, and you can pull them together and create one on the fly. And I did that. And when you do that, you roll. And if you roll
Cut it in
proper, you roll properly or improperly, I don't know what it would be termed as, you go into Twilight.
Oh, that would be an improper roll.
Yes, but it ended up working out well. That Twilight. So basically, I went to another dimension and had an experience there that I don't remember very well.
Tripping White, fantastic.
Yes, and came back, but it was fun. It's open. It's kind of an open-ended system, but it's designed to showcase that part of the game, the magic.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, half the fun of the game is inventing new spells because the book has there's 5 arts, 10 forms. You have the 5 arts: Creo, create; Muto, change; Perdo, destroy; Rego, control; and Intelligo, perceive.
Right. It has a very Latin theme.
Oh yes, and Latin scholar.
Mm-hmm.
You have your 10 forms, which is Aurum, Aquam, water, air, and all the rest. You pair form like Rego, Aquam, which is I control water, and then there's some guidelines on what level you need to number you need to hit to accomplish a task. Like Rego Aquam, I want to part this river like the Red Sea. It's like, okay, well, Rego Aquam, that looks like a level 35 power. So you take your skill number in Rego, your skill number in Aquam, add them together, roll your die, and hope that you hit the 35 if you had the spell memorized. Now, if you don't have the spell memorized and you're just going to do this from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
You got to cut your total number in by 10.
By 10.
Yeah. So
and still make that roll.
If you miss the roll by like up to 10 points, you take a level of fatigue, and if it's like greater than that, the spell fails. But yeah, half the fun is inventing your spells, finding creative uses for your spells, and inventing magic items. Ars Magica feels like it would be so much better not being played as such. Yeah, Bruce, I agree wholeheartedly.
So Dark Sun has a method of a troop play where you have 3, I think it specifies 3 characters. But, it's a deadly game. You're expected to die. One of your characters dies. You bring up your other character. And that's what troop play means for a lot of people. And I called into a podcast saying I don't like troop play. I think it sucks. I got a lot of grief out of that because a lot of people like troop play apparently out there. I do not. Not the Ars, and I specified the Ars Magica troop play method. Other types are fine.
I'm sure there's fine troop play out there, but only if the characters are like comparable.
Yeah.
Whereas Ars Magica's troop play is not comparable.
Right. Especially not the Grogs. I mean, the cook. I'm going to play the cook today. Oh,
you play the cook. You piss off your Magus, and he just lights you on fire. Oh, you don't get a saving throw because those aren't in this game.
Right. You just die or hurt really bad. But the way I think Pat had it set up, we all had a magi within, they called them covens? No.
Yeah.
Yes? And basically we go out and discover a place where we can set up and do our research. And I think what the assumption in the game is, each person may have a magi, but those magi are researching while the other magi goes out and does stuff. and you take turns. And conceptually, it sounds okay, but I don't want to just play a grog. That doesn't sound fun at all.
It all leads into the way they hand out experience points in the game is it's seasonal play. You get your experience points based on seasons. So one adventure is probably going to be an entire season. If you want to study your books on magic, it's going to take an entire season. That's 3 months. So
it's like winter or spring.
Yeah, so time flies in that game. And some of your grogs won't be around more than, a few years of a mage's really extended lifespan.
Oh, they live longer?
Yeah. Once you hit the age of 35, you start making your aging rolls. I've made my 6th aging roll this year. But most mages will come up with a longevity ritual, usually a potion, and they always work to refine their longevity potions. But mages can live hundreds of years.
Oh, okay, that makes sense in with the feel of it. But yeah, so for this would cure my itch of always playing a wizard, and I wouldn't need to play a wizard in any other game.
I like to think I always made Ars Magica fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I think reading the standard way, and then when you explained everybody, because we have a whole section of our extended group that like playing wizards. I do, you do, Jeff, and several others, and we would all like to play wizard at the same time. Why mess with that? It would make adventuring in Ars Magica isn't necessarily the same as adventuring in D&D. In D&D, you're often set a task by someone, or you delve into a dungeon, or you chase down someone who's kidnapped someone's daughter or whatever. In Ars Magica, you're researching and studying magic and advancing the art. That's Ars Magica, art of magic. So you're advancing that. So you discover locations that contain magical properties or substances, and you collect those, and those things aid you in your research. And while you're doing that, interesting things can happen. You can encounter demons or other monsters or other wizards, have rivalries and spell battles and stuff like that. So it's a different focus. And that all sounds fun. I'd love to be in another campaign of that. I only got to play a few sessions, maybe 2, maybe only the 1. Was it only the 1, or was it 2? It wasn't very many.
I remember you being there for a few games.
A few games, okay. Okay, it's been a long time. I actually had dark hair. I had a little gray then. Now I just have a little color. So I think I would prefer to play, but I would run it as well. And I would run it as Patrick does, where everybody gets to play a wizard. Now, if you want to play a companion and you would prefer that, that's fine. And we'd figure out a way for that to work out.
I recommend companions being hedge mages, because hedge mages can do some pretty awesome stuff.
Right. And the fighters, the knights, they're pretty tough.
Oh yeah, a blade between the shoulder blades of a wizard will kill him just as bad as any dragon might.
Yeah, if he hasn't started wiggling his fingers at you, I mean, once he's
the only advantage you have is there's no such thing as a saving throw in Ars Magica.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that protects you from magic is the Parma Magica, which is the magic shield that all magi have. And that gives them resistance to magic. If you cast a spell on anybody that does not have some form of magical protection, like a saint might have a relic on him that produces a magic shield or something, then it just affects you. You don't get saving throws to shake it off or anything. The spell affects you, and it lasts until it's done.
Right, and I think Right. You had a combat wizard. Mortensen had a combat wizard. Um, right. So, but what I remember, isn't there some sort of prohibition on casting your magic? I mean, offensively. If you're defending yourself against aggression, then fine.
Yeah, that's fine. There are the Mage Laws. You cannot scry on another wizard. That is considered a huge no-no. You also cannot engage another wizard in combat unless you have formally declared wizard war.
Right. And there's got to be good reasons for it.
And intruding on another mage's sanctum is also a huge no-no.
Well, sure.
Trafficking with demons, big no-no.
Right, because the church figures fairly largely in this setting.
Yeah, pissing off the church is also another big one.
Don't cast any spells in a church. That's not a good idea.
Oh, yeah, especially since most of them have a divine aura. And
if they have a relic there, too, you're in trouble.
Divine auras make it really difficult to use even rote magic. Unless you're actually a wholly aligned magi. I remember Jeff was playing a holy magus that actually had had holy powers.
Yeah, it rarely gets to, I think, a war. I mean, you could set that up as an RP thing. Hopefully you avert it by diplomacy. Most of the time you should, if you're going to be directing your ire at things, it's going to be demons and creatures from the Fey realm, because there's a Fey realm as well, right?
Divine, magic, infernal, fairy.
Right.
Those are the 4 realms.
Right.
Oh, one last thing about Ars Magica before we move on. The rolls in the game, all you need is 1d10. Single d10.
Right,
There's simple rolls and there's stress rolls. Simple rolls are just add stat bonuses, roll of the die, add them together. A stress die is add your skills together, roll the die. If it is a 0, you roll the die again, and then you double what's on that die. If you roll another 0, you roll it again and quadruple that number. If you roll another 0, roll it again.
Times 8?
Times 16. And it keeps compounding. And I have seen some weird rolls. Like a guy studying a piece of Ignem Weiss, like a fire crystal, decides to use that as his method of study for the season. He rolled like 3 zeros in a roll, and oh my god, the number he rolled, he went from like a 5 in fire magic to like a 12 in fire magic from one season of study.
Oh, his skill increased.
Weird.
Oh, wow.
A huge skill increase.
Oh, wow. That's enough to make one corrupt. I'm the fire wizard.
I have also seen Jeff's wizard cast this like wind shield around himself to protect himself from bandits who were firing arrows at him. One bandit got a really stupid good roll. So the arrow went straight through his windshield, which should have knocked the arrow aside easily, and went straight for his heart.
Oh boy!
It's just because the more the better you hit your opponent, everything over his defense adds to the damage.
Wowee!
I had to. I didn't want to see him go like that. I fudged it and I like critically wounded him, but did not kill him. Okay.
Fudging rolls. That is a no-no.
No. it is a yes in my game, because making another Ars Magica character would also take a certain amount of time too.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. So that is my number 3.
All right, move this along. My next pick, Chivalry and Sorcery.
Oh, it's a game I wanted to pick up a while back. That's an older game.
Yes, it is. I have the old 3rd edition. Chivalry and Sorcery Rebirth, I think, is a 4th edition. They just came out with a new edition. However, much to my chagrin, and probably Max's, if he ever picked it up, this newest edition is the woke edition, because they had to go in and talk about, back in medieval Europe, there were bad people, and they enslaved black people, and we're going to take out all those problematic elements. And it's like, oh my God, nobody cares.
Yes, because the only people that held slaves were white people.
And
only white people. Slavery began with white people.
Tell me, who is going to run a game where your characters are all like slave owners or rapists and pillagers and murderers? Well, I'm sure there's a few out there, but the majority of people's games aren't going to go like that. You want high fantasy. You want to go out, rescue maidens, slay dragons, get the gold, win the tournaments. If you're a wizard, you want to find the new magic. You want to establish your tower. You want to do all the cool things. Stop.
The rapists and pillagers and slaveholders, those are the enemies.
The bad guys. Those are the guys who kill.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's Britannia Publishing that now has Chivalry and Sorcery, and they wokeified it and did lots of woke scolding, and it's like, you know what? All right, I bought your book, and it's basically a compilation of the 4th edition rules. So, all right, thanks for nothing. But
they have previous editions. What does the current edition? What is the advantage to it, apart from its political stance?
This version of Chivalry and Sorcery, the 4th edition one, it came as 3 volumes. One is the Rebirth core rules, which is just all the basic stuff for play, and all the classes that are like men of arms. You have the Game Master's Companion, which has all the stuff that a Game Master would need to know. Like all the stuff about medieval Europe, and how to run a kingdom or how to run tournaments and stuff like that.
So, but is 4th edition the woke edition?
No, it's the newest one. Like, I think it's 5th. I think.
Okay. So 4th is fine. So you're okay.
After this one.
Yes.
This is the book of Magics and Miracles, which is basically the clerics and the wizards. I do like the system. It is like a D100 system with your bonuses thrown in. Difficulties settings are set in there, so it's like, if this is a simple task, or if this is a moderate task, subtract 10% from their die roll, or if this is a really hard task, subtract 25. Magic's pretty cool. Lots of spells in the game, lots of different types of mages you could play. One thing I really liked about Magic in this is you have something called a personal magic factor. And what that is like, you take all your magic skill and like any bonuses you have, like if you're born under the sign of Scorpio or Virgo, you're considered a highly aspected person and good with magic, which means you had a 10% bonus to your personal magic factor. That indicates the power of your spells. And like in your, like the classic Firebolt spell. When casting Firebolt, the damage code in it is magic level ×2 plus your crit die roll. So you can just make yourself more and more powerful. And there's lots and lots of skills in the game. You can play a lot of different types of games. This is also a game where even men of arms get tired during their fights. You lose fatigue for every round you're in combat.
I can verify through, I took martial arts, and when we would spar, you get tired. There's no, hold on a second, I'm going to catch my breath. You get tired really fast. It was always funny watching the old Kung Fu movies where there would be fights that would last so freaking long. You're like, how? That's not possible. Of course, it's a movie, so of course it's not possible.
Yeah, I used to belong to the SCA, and I've put on a set of plate mail before and got the rattan sticks and walked out there, and by the end of one sparring round, you're like, oh my god!
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah. Fighting is very taxing. Very taxing.
Unfortunately, it is for spell casting for mages too, because they use the same pool of fatigue points for casting their spells.
Is it governed by all the same stats? Oh, okay, that's cool. So, but
you
it's
have a buff mage who can cast spells all day.
So it's medieval fantasy.
Classic medieval fantasy.
Okay. What sets it, since it's classic medieval fantasy, and that's kind of a D&D thing, what sets it apart? I know you just described how the magic factor works. So that's something that does. But is there anything thematically that you would say sets it apart from D&D, apart from the rules?
The equipment section, you keep track of like 3 sets of currency.
Oh.
Crowns, shillings, pence.
Oh.
Like stuff in the equipment section is like, oh, this sword is 5 shillings and 6 pence.
Oh, okay. So it's not like everything in the player's handbook for D&D or just about every version of D&D, a thing only costs so many gold or so much silver or so much platinum. It's not like broken down any farther than that.
And the conversions in here are like, oh, okay, well there's 12 shillings to 1 pence, 15 pence to a crown. You know, not exactly, but they're like different denominations.
Oh, okay. It's not the 10, 10, 10 that D&D usually has.
Nope.
That's funny.
It's very much the chivalric fantasy. So it's not as high fantasy as Dungeons and Dragons, even though there are full mages in the game. But it borrows a lot from Arthurian legends. Not as much as the Pendragon role playing game does, but I think it's very nice. In fact, Mr. Symbolist, God rest his soul, actually dedicated the role playing game to the SCA.
Oh, cool. Alrighty, so it's chivalric. Alrighty, so that's a little different from D&D, but D&D you can apply that sort of theme to D&D fairly easily.
It's like most of your games probably don't have you fighting goblins or slaying dragons. A dragon in this game, that's a big deal. That's like that's a huge thing.
Like Smog.
Yeah.
So it would be that level of threat. You're going to be lucky if you defeat him instead of, oh, it's a fire dragon, so I'll shoot him with ice, and then that'll take care of him.
Yeah, I will. Chivalry and Sorcery has a bit of prep time to it, like creating a character. creating character is like your first night session, because you got to roll out your birth order, what class that you were born into. Are you a noble? Are you a peasant?
Social class. Right.
Yep. And then what class you are. That your class tells you what skills are the easiest for you to learn, and requires the least amount of experience points to bump up. And that's an entire game session, is rolling up characters.
Well, Hackmaster can be that way. There's a character creation for the current 5th edition Hackmaster is pretty involved, and you can what birth order? Did you just say birth order?
Yeah.
Are you the third son or
12th child?
How many siblings you have? Whether your parents are still alive? Whether they liked you or not?
Yeah.
Is that part of that one too?
Yeah. There's a whole ton of tables in here.
Yeah. Whether your siblings like you or not.
Even your birth sign is.
That's interesting. I like to see that and compare them.
Oh, Larry Elliott's got to go.
All right. Talk to you later, Larry.
But and your birth sign it also determines what skills you may be good at too.
That's interesting.
I'll always throw down for Chivalry and Sorcery if need be. It just requires a little bit of prep time first.
Right. So, but once you have a character or 3 that you have, it's easier to get going. Right.
Yeah.
Good. Like a lot of systems, some systems really are involved. Have they have that's kind of like a life cycle character generation method. A little bit like what's the science fiction game? The first one, Traveler. Have that life cycle events. You can die. That would be funny. All right. Moving along.
Yep.
All right. Moving along to number 4. Champions.
Never got to play it.
Yes. It's the super role-playing game. Now, this is what version is this? They're up to a 5th or a 6th edition, very large. This is a fairly thick book. The newest version is pretty close to double in thickness. Let's see here. 4th edition. I have the 4th edition. And this is from... I think it's from... I can't tell. Somewhere around 1990, thereabouts. 89. First printing of 4th edition book. I really like this cover. It has a very comic book look, which is great because that's what Champions is about. It's a super role-playing game for superheroes, 4-color comic book play, and it's really good stuff. It's different from a lot of other superhero games. The hero system has been changed a little bit over the years, but I remember playing a Paste Pot Pete type character. Paste Pot Pete was a Spider-Man villain. Well, foe. Not much of a villain. He's a really low-rent bad guy. And he basically had a glue gun he shot at people. So that's what I made a character that could glue people and flash their senses. And those in this version of the game, sticking people to the ground and flashing their senses was really powerful. You could, as long as their senses weren't protected, even really powerful creatures. I mean, he couldn't beat them up or kill them or anything, but he could neutralize them real easy. Poof. You can't hurt me now. Ha ha ha. So, but I guess it has a lot of sentimental value for me because I believe it was my first superhero game. No, that's not true. Marvel Superheroes was my first superhero game. But this is my first one of my first games I played when I went in active duty. And Had a lot of fun with it. So I would love to get into a new campaign of it. I might run one. Might run some of it at Cabin Con as well. To be honest, I haven't really looked at the rules closely in a long time. So I'm really not sure precisely what sets it apart from D&D, other than it is a totally different system. I believe it might be percentage based, but I can't remember. When I picked this topic for the game for the live stream, I wanted us to bring some games up that were not D&D, and this is decidedly not D&D. And it's just something I have some memories from when I was younger, and I would love to get back into it and learn the system. What I remember mostly about it was the Pace Pot Pete character and the phased combat. You have 12 phases, and depending on your speed, which is one of your stats, would tell you which phases that you acted in. And the higher your speed, the more phases you act in. So
that almost evokes kind of the sequential storytelling of the different panels for a comic.
Something like that. Captain's Nightmare. I don't remember it being that bad. I still think that old school Rollmaster was way worse.
Rollmaster.
Mm-hmm. So they have you, like a lot of superhero systems, you have a set of points that you buy powers with, and depending on what the game master sets as your power level, you get X amount of points. So not remembering specifically what the points are, but if you have a low power kind of street level game compared to something like the Superman level Legion of Superheroes type of game, it would be a much higher point value you could use to buy, or you could start a couple of tiers below, and there is an advancement scheme where you could maybe reach into that higher level of play. Dracopole advises avoid direct stolen characters. Choose the Choker, the Giggler, and Ratwoman as your villains. That's funny.
Yep.
But I do like superhero games, and Marvel was my first one. But Champions, I'd really like to get back into just to see if it's worth it.
I cheat with superhero games. I play a super sorcerer.
Yeah, I've done that a lot too. And depending on which system, it's usually pretty broke. I mean, I
think every superhero role-playing game I've ever seen, super sorcery is super broken, but I love it.
Right, and that's the super sorcerer is the variable power pool.
Yeah,
generally speaking, in Mutants and Masterminds, they were powerful. In Savage Worlds version of superheroes, what's that called? The bad guys, where we played the bad guys.
Oh, Necessary Evil.
Necessary Evil, they had the super sorcerer in that, and they're very powerful. And I think in Marvel superheroes, the super sorcerer type is pretty tough.
I think it boils down to the super sorcerer is just, I have any powers I want.
Yeah.
Out of the book.
Right, which can make them complicated. But, physically speaking, if someone gets within striking range of a super sorcerer, yeah. So, that's my number 4.
Go jump right into my number 5. The Dark Eye.
I've never heard of that one.
It is a German role-playing game called Das Schwarze Auge, which actually translates to The Black Eye, but that would be a strange name for a role-playing game here.
It would be problematic.
Yeah, The Black Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Punch. But it is another classic fantasy, high fantasy D&D style game. However, the the system is quite unique in that you have when you roll for skill checks and stuff, you actually roll 3 20-sided dice. Oh my god! Oh no!
Thank you, Omen Owl. At least it's not the brown eye.
Yeah, at least it's not the brown eye. You roll 3 20-sided dice, and Dark Eye was just brought up less than 5 minutes ago in this conversation I'm having on the basic expert Gilded server.
Gilded is the Discord alternate.
But anyway, you roll 3 20-sided dice. Each represents like your mind, your body, and your spirit. And they're each 20-sided die is tied to a stat, and those stats are listed under each skill or each action you do. For each of the D20s, you need to roll under the stat for it. So sagacity is your intelligence, and if you had to roll, you'd have to roll under your intelligence stat. And if any one of those is over one of the stats rolled, the skill fails. What skill ranks do is you use your skill ranks to lower the numbers you roll on each on the D20s.
So low is good.
You can situate the D20s to where your skill will succeed. Any leftover skill points translate to quality, as in like if you're making a jump and you use your jumping skill to lower your D20 rolls to where they're underneath your stats, and you have points left over, it can translate to a further jump. Or if you're a magic user making a magic potion, and you roll good and you have skill points left over, the quality of potions you make, like your healing potion, heals more hit points and stuff like that.
So let's say you needed a 7 and your roll was an 8 and your skill is a 5. You only have to use one of the 5. You would have 4 left over to make the quality, the potion better, or the jump higher, or whatever. That's cool. That is an interesting way to do things.
Characters are pretty freeform in how you can develop them. There's several traditions of magic in which they have lots of different abilities for each tradition and stuff like that. And spells are pretty cool. They do a little bit of Harry Pottering with the spell names, like the fire bolt spell, which creates like a ray of fire, is called Ignifaxis. Ignifaxis. Yes.
Okay, so faux Latin.
Yeah, kind of faux Latin. Let's see if I can find some of the other spells in here. Respondami. This spell lets you dominate a target's mind to force them to speak the truth. Let's see. Psychostabilis. This spell protects you from domination or transformation magic. Somnigravis makes your target sleepy. And then some of them just have regular English names like Spiderwalk.
Oh, okay. So only some of the spells have those
The majority of them have the weird names. Harmless Shake. Horophobus. Influences the mind, making targets experience terrible nightmares or become fearful.
Question here: Do you have to translate it, or is it already in English?
Oh, my copy is English. So,
Is it a fairly recent game?
let's see. Ulysses, North America, prints this. There's lots of books out for it. I got this one like 4 years ago.
Oh, so it's an established game. It's nothing.
It's an established game.
Okay.
They finally put out the Magic book for it, which I was very excited about.
Well, sure.
No, you can totally get it in English. That's the reason it's actually called The Dark Eye and not Das Schwarze Auge.
So it's originally a German game. So when you say they finally came up with the Magic book, that means they finally
very
had
popular in Germany too. It's like Germany's version of Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. So that when you say that they just came out with the Magic book, do you mean they just came out with the translation, the English translation for the original German book, or is this an English version book?
Sure. I'm not
You
sure.
don't. Okay.
Yeah, I only really pay attention to the recent stuff as far as English goes, because when I first saw this game at like Rogers Hobby Center like 2 decades ago, and it was in English. It was called The Dark Eye, but I did some research into it. It's like, oh, this game's from Germany, and I don't know much about the German game. I could read it very slowly, given
there
enough
was a time when I could,
because German's my third language.
I learned a bit when I was stationed there, so I could probably have slowly read some of it because it was mostly
Meine Deutsche ist schlecht.
Yes, wo ist der Bahnhof? I mean, that was the that's my extent of German at this moment. Schnitzel. That's German.
I've never actually got to sit down and actually play this game as long as I've had the book, but I'd be interested in giving it a spin.
Okay, that's another Cabin Con candidate then. Just to throw something together for. But is it standard fantasy fare, or does it have something distinct about the world that's different?
Pretty standard fantasy fare. The difference between Dungeons and Dragons and the Dark Eye is the Dark Eye has a very established world of Aventuria, and there is so much lore on Aventuria. It fills volumes. Like there are so many different like nationalities to play in this game. They have one for like a parallel for like every Earth culture has a culture like in the Dark Eye.
So named somewhat differently, but you can see the parallel.
Like Vasagonians and Northlanders, but it's like, okay, these are the Vikings, okay, these are the Arabs, these are the Sikhs.
Did you know that Netflix has a Vikings TV show, and they have a brand new character in it, a Jarl of a particular group of Vikings, who happens to be a black woman somehow.
I was waiting for the punchline.
Yeah, it's a little unique, one would say, considering Vikings are very pale, and I doubt that I'm pretty sure that this Jarl was a historical figure, not a woman. I'm sure. I don't think there was a Viking Jarl ever that was a woman. I think if they had a Jarl that was a woman, they would call it something else instead of Jarl, because I'm pretty sure Jarl is a masculine title, I would assume, out of the Vikings.
I want to say there is a different title for a Lady Jarl. damn, I'm blanking. But
Back
continue.
to the black eye. I mean, dark eye. Not the brown eye.
Not the brown eye. But yeah, I would love to take the dark eye out for a spin. Yes, Mr. Chef, Revisionist History Channel.
Yes.
And once you have your fifth pick, I would love to go through a lightning round where I have a couple extra picks here. I'll do a 2-sentence blurb about it, and
yes,
there's so much to show people.
I don't really have much for lightning. However, my fifth book or fifth game is one that, after looking at the list and then looking at my shelf back there, I realized I don't own it. However, I'm going to rectify that as soon as it's possible. Year Zero engine game called Aliens. And it is exactly what it sounds like. If you're not familiar, it is a licensed product for that movie series. And I think that the Year Zero engine, the cinematic version, I believe, is what not the campaign version, is what we played at CavinCon. No, not Conan 2D20. It is an emulation or an emulation of that IP from the movie, and it's very well done. I think that the only thing I would say I didn't like about it is that the fear factor that it's not called that, but whatever, the fear element of the game generally eventually led to everybody screaming at each other.
Yes, the cascade of screaming idiots.
Yes. So that might have been just what ended up happening at the table when we played. Stress. So, but it just so happened that it always led to screaming, and eventually it made multiple people scream. And I think the reason for it is that the screaming would draw the alien creatures in. So, but and there might have been other eventualities, but that's, for some reason, that's what ended up happening with us.
I'm interested to see what they do with Blade Runner.
Right. There are 2 books out now, the core book and the Space Marines book. Cool. So we have, thank you, Martinson. I think, so I'm hopefully going to get at least one of them soon. And the cinematic version, I've heard people say that they didn't think the campaign version would work. I think that might have been Legion of Myth. But I really enjoyed playing. Now the adventure, I think there's a free adventure you can get for it. And it's basically the cut scene, the cut out scene from the Aliens movie that you can get if you get the extended version, where they show what happens to the colony before Ripley and crew crash there, or land there, and then eventually their ship crashes, or the lander, smaller craft crashes. But anyway,
CavinCon we played that.
Yes,
that was one of the best nights for me.
Yeah, that was really a lot of fun.
Even though I was taken out by a face hugger at the dropship.
Yeah. The dropship, yeah.
Yeah, they survived the entire game. Only get taken out at hour 11.
Right. I mean, that was right at the end. But yeah. And even when my character that survived, it was iffy what happened subsequently, because it could have played out a lot of different ways. Because, the corporation is involved and they're shady as hell. Yeah. But yeah, I would like to play that in a setting that's not you automatically. Well, if the game is called Aliens, it's hard. That's kind of I'm going off in a lot of different directions here. I liked the game we played. I just think that there's kind of two opposing things with this game is I've seen the movies, and I, as a player, know what the aliens are capable of and what should happen. You should gather everybody up, retreat to space, and nuke the planet from orbit. You really don't do anything else.
Right. Martin says he's running an all Marines campaign for Cabin Con. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be fun playing
Game
Marines.
over, man. It's game over.
Well, mainly it's going to.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the situation we played, the scenario we played in, we were all not. It was more like Alien, the first movie, where everybody involved were scientists or just workers or whatever. No, I mean, had one person who was
a doctor.
Yeah, you were a doctor. No one that was a real soldier. We didn't have any gear. Yeah, the cinematic mode gives you character objectives, so you need to do that. So you can't just retreat immediately and nuke. So you have to really do that, and that makes it fun. And it gives you good role-playing cues and all that. And I apologize that I don't have an example of the book to show. But we, as soon as I can lay my hands on one, I will do so.
All right, we ready for a quick lightning round?
Yes, and the lightning will be all yours.
Okay. All right. First of all, Lone Wolf, the adventure game. For anybody who remembers the old Lone Wolf books, they were a set of choose your own adventure books that they were my first choose your own adventure books. But I didn't play the Lone Wolf books. I played Gray Star the Wizard, and those were awesome. The Lone Wolf adventure game actually plays exactly like the choose your own adventure books, except they throw in rules for making skill checks and combat with more than one person, since you're not playing the game solo.
So it's not. It says Lone Wolf, but you're not lone.
No, you're not alone. The core set, mine is actually signed by Joe Deaver. May he rest in peace. And you play just the Kai Lords, which Lone Wolf was. An additional book, Heroes of Magnemon, has a whole bunch of extra character classes.
Must be Wolf.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
I'm not. I remember the reference, but I'm not sure. Is
Lone
that an anime? Is that an anime?
Not an anime. It's actually just a Japanese film series.
Oh, okay.
The entire Mandalorian series was basically almost beat for beat Lone Wolf and Cub. But
is that the one with the dude and his son?
Yeah.
The
Wandering Ronin and his charge. Lone Wolf, the adventure game, also has even the same combat tables as the old books, and I highly recommend it. Would love to bring it out and play it anytime. Next on the list, the Talisman Adventures. This is based on the board game Talisman.
That's some Inception crap right there.
Yes.
I mean, Talisman, the board game, is a D&D, the board game. And now D&D, the Talisman, the board game, has become Talisman, the role-playing game.
And all of the tropes and stuff you would see in the Talisman board game are in the role-playing game. Like your two main stats are strength and craft.
Mm-hmm.
You have three different like strength stats and three different craft stats to expand the game a little more.
Sure.
Skills and stuff. You have character levels, and each character level you each character class you play, like if you're playing a wizard, there's two different paths you could take. Like each level has one of two powers you could take. You can choose one or the other. And spells in the game play a lot like spells from the Talisman board game. And one unique thing about Talisman is that, like during combat, the player does all the rolling. The player's roll simulates both your hitting the target and the target trying to hit you. So if you roll like really low, you may not do damage, but the other guy does damage to you, and you turn to a frog off, and you could. The toadification spell's in there.
Is it a cooperative game or
Yes,
competitive?
yes, it's cooperative.
Okay, so that element has been switched to a more standard D&D or standard fantasy adventuring party type thing.
The same story, though, so I don't know what you guys are going to do when you get to a Talisman, but I think it's assumed that you go on other different adventures other than looking for the Crown of Command.
I mean, that seems like it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Especially as a diversion.
You may have to ether Jeff and tie him to a chair before you get him to play Talisman.
Oh, you have to pull a BA?
Yeah.
On Jeff?
You have to BA Baracus him.
That's
because
fun.
I have never seen anybody who hates the Talisman board game as much as he does. And he says the role-playing game ain't going to do anything for me either. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Jeff Door.
Yeah.
Okay, lightning round. Next one. The Witcher.
Of course there's a game.
Yep.
Well, it was originally a video game, right? No, it was originally
a set of books.
Set of books that got made into a video game.
And then turned into a Netflix series, and you got a role-playing game.
Was the Netflix series out first or the role-playing game? Do you know?
Actually, I think the role-playing game might have come before the Netflix series.
I mean, they've only finished the second season, so.
Although
they had, I think they had a year break because of the Rona.
It was 2018. This came out.
Well, that's almost 4 years ago.
But this one's made by Artelsorian Games. You guys were talking about them last week, I believe.
I can't remember.
You were wondering if they were still around. Well,
yeah, there it is.
Around. They also make Cyberpunk.
Yeah, because they had 2077 got released fairly recently, right? Or is that the video game? Cyberpunk Red is the board game. 2077, I think, is the video game.
Yeah. Witcher's pretty simple as far as rules go. There's a little bit of power disparity in the role-playing game, as in if you want to be the powerhouse of the game, either play a Witcher or play a Mage. Because you're not going to do much in combat when you're a craftsman. Although they do have their place. All the different classes in the game have neat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really neat stuff. And you could play a very viable craftsman build or a doctor build. Play a priest, bards. Bards have their place too. But as far as physical powerhouses, if you want that, you play a Witcher. Because nobody can get their reflexes as high as a Witcher can. But
it's called Witcher, so it makes sense. They have their do they do the same thing with potions and stuff in there for the Witcher? Witcher drinks their potion and then they're like juiced up and do their thing.
This game also has a lot more to do with the crafting aspect, like crafting the Witcher potions and your weapons, your armor, and all that stuff. They go down to how many iron ingots or how many pieces of wood does this take? Does this require a special material? How much extra stuff does it take? It goes into really a lot of detail for crafting. But the game looks pretty fun. And then last on the list is a brand new role-playing game I just got from Kickstarter, Shiver. It is a horror role-playing game.
It's not a game version of the movie Shiver, is it?
No.
Okay, good.
It's role-playing tales in the strange and unknown. The one thing that is probably going to turn off a lot of people to it is it does have its own proprietary dice. But if you take something like Fantasy Flight Games' Genesis system versus this system, you'll find that it feels far more like the Year Zero engine than it does Genesis, where it's like, I have positive things and negative things. I got to take the negative things out and the positive, and here's a success. Here's a success. No, in this you have I think 5 or 6 basic stats. You roll a number of dice equal to your stat number, and you're just looking for the symbols that you need. Each stat is a symbol on the die. Like for might, you have a fist. For luck, you have a clover leaf. For intelligence, you have a little light bulb. And if you're making an intelligence check to, discover something, you just roll the dice and you're looking for the intelligence symbols.
Oh, okay, and that if you get that, then that's where your successes are at.
Yes. However, if there's a part of the game where if you roll a lot of a different symbol other than what you're looking for, you can tell it in a way that makes it okay, I rolled a lot of might symbols and what I needed was intelligence. I'm going to spend a fate point here and I'm going to say that I Fonzie the thing by knocking into the computer and going, hey, and the computer for some reason works because I rolled a lot of might. But you gotta use some of your points for that. But does it have an easy conversion for dice to regular? Not really, because if you take there's 2 types of dice. There's the attribute dice and there's talent dice. Talent dice is there's no skills in the game, so if you have a high intelligence, like a 4 intelligence, and you get a couple of talent points in intelligence, you roll extra 8-sided dice that have extra success symbols on them. And they're just success symbols. But the core mechanic in this game that I really, really like is something called the Doom Clock. The Doom Clock, there's 60 minutes to a Doom Clock, and each time you roll a symbol on the die called the Strange, it adds a minute to the Doom Clock. Things that you do in-game might add to the Doom Clock. If you open the box that should not be opened, it may add 10 minutes to the Doom Clock or something.
That's kind of like the board game Arkham Horror that has a similar type of deal.
But every 15 minutes of the Doom Clock that ticks off, some in-game event happens that makes everything get worse.
Ooh.
One scenario in there is you're trying to escape this facility that there's been a zombie outbreak at, and you have NPCs with you that you're trying to escort out with you, and when the Doom Clock hits 30 minutes, one of these 2 characters gets killed. No choice of your own. The zombie gets one of these 2 people, and the game chooses which person it might be or something. Or
is there a way to turn the clock back?
Very few events in the game can turn the clock back. Some special character abilities are able to turn the clock back, and say the zombie virus thing. Hey, we were able to synthesize this retrovirus that will buy us some more time if we inject ourselves. We all inject ourselves. Okay, we'll turn the doom clock back 5 minutes. But like at 45 minutes, the helicopter that was waiting on the roof took off without you. Oh, guess you got to find a new way out. But the game gets to its absolute worst when the doom clock hits midnight, and then that's the last event that happens in the game. It's not an automatic like campaign loss,
right?
But it's when all the worst shit happens.
Right.
This game seems like it's only made for one shots, but there are entire character type progression tables in here, in which you gain levels and gain new abilities and stuff. There are the classes in the game are each tied to one of the stats, like the might stat. You have like the bruiser character or the fighter character, and they have like 3 different types of archetype. Okay, you have for might you have the warrior, for skill you have the maverick, for intelligence you have the scholar, for charisma you have the socialite, for luck you have the fool. For the weird, you have the weird. And the final symbol in there is the survivor. The weird is what you want to play when you want to be like 11 from Stranger Things, where you have the telekinetic powers and stuff, or if you want to be an occultist, or if you want to be... they include the person who might be secretly a werewolf. But anytime you roll those strange symbols, it powers the strange's abilities, but it also ticks up the doom clock.
Oh, nice.
So there's a downside to playing one of those classes. But
so, I wonder if this would lend well to playing in a kind of a TV show, supernatural type of environment.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. These dice also control what the monsters do, too. The monster stat blocks are pretty simple, and based on what is rolled on the die is what the monsters do. So the game master doesn't have a lot that he has to take care of. But yeah, that's all the role playing game goodness that I had.
Okay. Well, that's really cool. I appreciate you bringing those extra ones. That's some more things to think about. And all of that looks like good one-shot material for Cabin Con just to experiment with.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that is the end of our 5 games segment. I want to do a quick blurb about Cabin Con, or not Cabin Con.
We could. I mean, we have some T-shirt design.
Yes. Right before we do that, I want to mention something about there's been some questions on Discord and other places about Musdsword and where we are at.
Oh, yeah,
for those who care, we are waffling. We don't know if we want it to be an OSR type of emulation, or if we want it to be our own thing, some kind of new thing. And once we figure out what direction we want to go, we'll probably move forward again. But right now, we're not sure. We have an identity problem, a crisis, so to speak. Also, let's see. I'm going to try to get these T-shirt designs. So Patrick designs our T-shirts, has designed them for the last several years for Cabin Con. Let's see if I can get this up here. Share. All right.
There's the first one.
The very first one.
We were a small group back then. But the Latin on the front, quid accidit Cabin Con, manet ab Cabin Con, is what happens at Cabin Con stays at Cabin Con, which is kind of a tagline for us. You got Joe in the middle there with the purple starred robe with the staff that says, "That's racist." Got Randy's up at the top with the Dungeon Master Guide. Larry with the D20 nipples.
Yeah.
A different Larry, not Larry Elliott from the chat. And me making Trent some kind of blind character is never not going to be funny.
No. And he loves it. No
Yes.
matter. Yes.
Yes. He is not offended, folks.
No. So this was your first t-shirt?
First t-shirt. Yep.
Let me see if I can just roll over to... No, it doesn't work. All right. So we will stop that share. And a new one. Oh, I got them out of order.
Okay, this is the latest one. This one was Cabin Con 15. This was the comic book style cover. I've got this as a giant poster in my basement. It's a Demo Comics group, and there's Larry Elliott in the corner, and oh my God, creator of all the Marvel heroes. My God, and my brain is off today.
Stan Lee.
Oh my God. This is the Battle for the Dorkfinity Gauntlet. And you can see each of the Dorkfinity stones are different polyhedrals. And Joe is over there as Dr. Fate. And I'm over on the left as Doctor Strange. And then Randy's up top as Superman. And then, of course, near the bottom, I had to make Trent Daredevil, blind superhero. And that is at the very bottom is a little bit of meta. We got Greg Trombley to come back to Cabin Con, made him Deadpool, but I thought it'd be funny if we had him posing as Deadpool, but he rips open his costume and shows that he's wearing a shirt with Greg Trombley's real face on it.
Yeah, it's meta. Okay, let's get into the next one. I'll save that one for last. Takes too many clicks to do this.
Cabin Con 11, The Dork Awakens. This one was based on the Force Awakens movie poster. Randy is off on the left. I think he was... I can't remember who he was on the movie poster. Not the Death Star, but that new battle station that's like the Death Star. We got the D20 in the back. There's Joe with the purple robe, and there's me with the green and black robes. I basically asked everybody what their favorite character class is, and I made everybody based on that. And of course, I make Trent the blind monk down there. But this one was a pretty fun one to make. We started getting a lot of new guys coming to Cabin Con. And I think the reason I did this one as the Star Wars poster was because this Cabin Con actually fell on May the 5th.
Right.
May the 4th.
May the 4th, right.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Cabin Con 13. I thought 13 was a good unlucky number to have as our horror-themed shirt. We have coming out of the mist all sorts of horrifying people, like Randy, who is Pennywise the Clown. And on his balloon, you might see I made a floater, because, of course, Randy loves poop jokes. Let's see, who did we have you as, Joe? You were... Oh, right in the middle. You're the candy man.
Right.
Ben Rieger is a screaming cheerleader. We got Trent up there as a ghost pirate with 2 eye patches.
2 eye patches.
And down near the bottom there, on a horror shirt, I absolutely have to be a Ghostbuster because, meet me in Ghostbusters. That one is a fun shirt to make.
All right. And lastly,
probably the most numerous characters I had were... Oh, wait, there's 2 more. There was the Cabin Con 14, the COVID Con shirt.
Yeah, I haven't. Oh, hold on.
The Cabin Con 12.
Oh. There we go.
At Cabin Con 12, we still play pretend. This one was probably the most difficult to manage because this was the most people we ever had at Cabin Con. But all of my shirts are a veritable who's who. The Where's Waldo? How many characters can you pick out of the lineup for the shirt? But this was the fantasy themed shirt. Randy is obviously Falcor the Luck Dragon that takes up most of the picture. You got Phil as a Treyu on there. Darren is Teeny Weeny. We got Conan back there. We got our Princess Bride crew on the bottom left. And on the upper left, we got our Monty Python crew. I made you Tim the Enchanter that year.
Yes.
And then a couple of them are from Excalibur.
Well, I'm going to have to interrupt you just a moment. This has to be the most perfect matchup here with Jeff. Yeah. With this expression and the often expressed Merlin in that show. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, in the very center, we have 2 characters from Hawk the Slayer. And then we've got Willow down in front, Mark Anthony. And James. James is Mad Mardigan. And then 4 of us were from Lord of the Rings. We got Legolas and Aragorn. There's me as Gandalf the Grey with my fake beard.
Fake beard.
And got Josh down there as Gimli.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have up in the corner there, John Andrews as the Prince from Krull.
Oh, yes. Krull.
Yep. Then got Conan riding Falcor's tail there. Also a fun shirt to make.
Alrighty. And now finally.
Yeah, the one where we weren't supposed to be gathering.
Yeah, well.
And that's exactly why I made this shirt.
Yeah.
Because who are you to say, Miss Whitmer, whether we can gather with our friends or not? Cabin Con 14, COVID Con, the Fallout styled shirt. We got the Vault Boy, Angry Vault Boy, who doesn't approve of Governor Whitmer's orders, having the Merv launcher with the D20 nuke, and proudly bearing the Gadsden No Step on Sneck flag. We've made our save, and now we aim to misbehave.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites right there.
I am shocked I haven't been called out on making this shirt. because the T-shirt company that printed them for me, even they got a laugh out of it.
I thought of a new one we can make.
Oh,
Yeah. Cure for COVID, and just have Putin's headshot you kind of grayed out, and then behind you just say "Cure for COVID."
yeah.
At least "Cure for COVID" talk.
This year's shirt is going to be sci-fi themed, so when everybody gets to see the T-shirt, they get to pick out all the sci-fi characters.
So yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Okay, so that brings us to the end, and a bit of a long show today.
Oh yeah, hour.
If you put a spike protein on every number on a golf ball D100, you get exactly what looks like a COVID SARS virus, according to Dracopol. Oh. Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Is there anything else you want to discuss, Mr. Pat?
No, I think we've kept these people long enough. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're saying, get him the hell off the show, get Randy back on.
All right. I'm sure that's not what people are saying, at least not out loud. Anyway. All right. If you would like to support our show, please visit the many places where you can find us on the interwebs. Our links will all be listed in the show notes. You can find we have two prominently listed at the top for PayPal and Streamlabs for donations, should you want to do that. We are on Twitter.
You can too.
Yes. And I meant to put this in the outline to thank our two financial backers, Pat here, and is he even on right now? He was earlier. I don't think so. Arnman and Patrick are our two financial backers, and we thank you very much for being that for us.
Thank you, Max. Thank you for putting up with me.
Those two our two financial backers almost provide enough to pay for Streamlabs subscription. It's just a little short. Anyway, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, MeWe, Odyssey, YouTube. Our email is thegeeks@biggestgeekest podcast for suggestions. If you want to give us any ideas for topics for our show or format suggestions, anything like that, we'll read your email and consider it seriously. We have a Discord for our show. The link is in the show notes. Please share the show with your friends and let us know if there's any other way we can get our show to you, either audio or video. Please like, subscribe, share, and rate us in all the places that you find us. Anything from Patrick? Oh, Patrick, show your stuff if you have anything to do so.
Well, you can visit my webpage at pointyhat.games. And if you're interested in checking out my one game so far, Elemental Conflux, you can find it at Drive-Thru Cards.
I have it here on my shelf of many things.
And hopefully, if things go well, maybe I'll have some future offerings. I'd like to have a board game out or two, or I'm hoping a role-playing game somewhere in the near future.
That's good. Good stuff. All right. If that is all, this is Joe.
This is Patrick.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.
Geeks like us.